What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Everything College Basketball Podcast, episode 229. I'm, of course, your host, Josh Burt, and joining me again today is my teammate, and we'll get more into that here in just a second, but my teammate, Michael DeRosa. DeRosa, it's been almost 2 months since we last recorded. I know in the last time we did, when the kind of the postseason wrap-up after Florida's national championship, we had discussed that we'll be more active, and we are. We're planning on it. But there's been a lot that's happened this last month and a half. But we are back. We've got a full slate of shows packed, coming ready for you guys for the rest of the summer, leading us into the season. But, my friend, how are you doing on this fine Tuesday afternoon?
I'm hanging in there. Last episode, I remember I had this take, which at the time I really believed. Everybody was talking about how, Kansas is going to be terrible. Their roster isn't said, there's no way they can go into the season with it. And then my take was, there's no way they can go into the season with this. They're going to have Tyron Stokes. They're going to have Dame Sarr. They're going to have Darian Williams. And they didn't get any of those kids. So I look like an idiot already. So I'm hoping I can, you're starting so low that I'm hoping I'm going up. That's the goal. But yeah, doing well. Happy to be back talking some hoops.
Yeah, look, dude, we're going to mention Kansas here shortly for various reasons. But I think it'd be fun because there has been in a month and a half, as per usual, anytime we take a minor break, there's been a lot that's gone on. And I want to talk about a couple things to begin the show before we get in our preseason. Not even really preseason, and I don't want to call it way too early. I hate those two terms, especially the way too early top 25s. This is just kind of our thoughts on the top 10 teams in America as we sit here on June 24th.
Way too damn early top 10. I definitely did not do that.
Yeah, no. But this is the current day because things could still change. Unfortunately, injuries could change. Or just we wake up 3 months from now when it's officially time to do a preseason top 25. And our thoughts and opinions have changed based upon scrimmages and everything else. Coach Parra, our guy. Everybody who followed us last season knows that's our guy. We were blessed to have him as a teammate last year. He officially was news we sat on for a while, DeRosa. You know that we sat on this because he told us personally, keep it under the radar, keep it quiet. But it became official a month ago back, that he has joined Penn State in the GM role there at Penn State for basketball. So he joins our guy, Coach Rhodes. I think that's a perfect fit. I know Coach really wanted to be back in the hot seat of the head coaching position. But I think this is a great kind of gateway to get him back, just to get his foot back in the door. He gets to go work with one of his best friends in the world, Coach Mike Rhodes at Penn State, in a conference that arguably is one of the best in the country last year. I think this is a great fit because he still gets to kind of be there on recruiting loads, kind of talk X's and O's, and he's honestly an integral part of the program now, since we've seen the invention of the GM spot a few years ago.
Yeah, and with the Penn State roster, just very broad picture. They added some international guys since Coach Parra took the job. So it's a matter of we don't know which guys he really had a hand in, which guys he didn't. Obviously, we'd have to ask him. But yeah, it's definitely been especially after they lost Conan Niederhauser, they need some dudes. So hopefully Coach Parra's got it going in the right direction. But yeah, couldn't speak higher of Coach if possibly asked to. I, full respect to him, really hope it works out for Penn State next year. They got two fans in the two of us sitting right here. That's for damn sure. That's for damn sure.
Well, and it extends further than that because I know our guy Johnny has mentioned he's an IU guy first, but Penn State is now number 2. I know Peyton feels the same way. Trevor. They've got a lot of fans out here in this region, especially within the ECV fam. And look, we're pulling for them. We've made no mistake about that. So I hope Coach Parra, this is a gateway to get him back to where he ultimately wants to be. But I know this is a great landing spot. We can't wait to have not only Coach back on this time so we can pick his brain about being in the GM role, but we can have Coach Rhodes back on as well and kind of talk about his team moving forward, maybe some of the struggles, some things he's excited for. We will work on getting that set up. Other thing that came out 2 weeks ago that I think is very interesting, as always, the ACC-SEC official matchups were revealed. The first person I saw reveal them was John Rothstein, so we'll go off of his, but these are official. You've got Florida at Duke in a marquee of marquee games. Both these teams are going to show up in our top 10s coming up here. That is a massive showdown. The defending national champs go on the road to play in front of the Cameron Crazies with let me try that again. The Cameron Crazies, not the Cameron Crazies. I don't even know who Crady is.
Neither do
I. Florida at Duke will be incredible, though. You've got North Carolina at Kentucky, renews an old blue blood rivalry. These two teams used to play year in and year out there for a long time. Tucker Break would meet up in the CBS Sports Classic every third year. But this year, Carolina is back inside Rupp Arena. That'll be fun, as we'll talk about here coming up. Kentucky's loaded. Carolina, have they filled the holes that they needed in the front court? We'll find out. North Carolina State at Auburn is maybe one of the more intriguing games of this showdown here, considering North Carolina State likely will end up in our preseason top 25 with Will Wade as head coach. They brought in a ton of talent, and then Auburn's going to be Auburn. They've lost a lot off of that team that won the SEC, but Bruce Pearl always reloads. That should be interesting. Clemson and Alabama. Clemson lost a lot. Bama's still – they lost a lot as well, but they'll be good. They get it at home. Louisville at Arkansas. Calipari gets another crack at Louisville. Kenny Payne going against a team he basically melted down from the ground, his alma mater at Louisville. And the Cards come in, maybe top 10. We'll find out here shortly, but a damn good roster with a really good shot of not only make the NCAA tournament again, but winning multiple games. I'm really excited about that. You've got the list. I sent the list to you. Outside of those, anything else intrigue you in the SEC ACC Challenge this upcoming year, or just some of those games we just talked about? Louisville at Arkansas, Carolina at Kentucky, Florida at Duke, whatever.
Yeah. Hi, Trevor, if you're watching this. NC State's not going to be in my preseason top 25. I'll be very stunned.
I'll give them a vote. They're probably going to come in like 23rd, 24th.
I'll be pretty stunned if they make it there. Darian Williams is amazing. I like the addition of Trey Holloman as just like a veteran point guard and like a transitional year, right? The rest of that roster, I'm not particularly high on. I'm not going to lie to anyone. But yeah, the game that excites me the most is LSU at Boston College. You're looking at it. It's De'Don Thomas taking on Boat. Yeah, I'm just fucking playing.
I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
I think the fun. I mean, it's Florida Duke. That's. I mean, that was what those are two teams. Did they play in the Final Four last year? I don't. They didn't, right? It was two. Yeah, it was. Yeah, they didn't.
Yeah.
But I mean, those are two teams that made the Final Four last year. Two teams that are going to be very good. And yeah, you mentioned Louisville, Arkansas. Those are, again, two very, very good teams. A little lower on North Carolina than everyone seems to be low on North Carolina. So I'm just going to say I agree with them. But yeah, I would say those are the games that really excite me. And then Missouri at Notre Dame is interesting. Notre Dame's a team that if they're going to get it going, this year's probably got to be a decent step because like that they have a good freshman class coming in, Jalen Harrelson. And then is Marcus Burton a senior? I'm going to
junior, I believe,
okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
somewhere around there, but like this has got to be that backcourt, Marcus Burton and Braden Shrewsbury. You go from underclassmen to upperclassmen now. This has got to be a transitional year.
Remember in the last episode we talked about we went through a lot of teams of like pressure for various reasons. And I listed Notre Dame, and you agreed with me. They've got to take a step forward because Shrewsbury is a really good coach, but they can't keep having 13, 14 win years. So
I didn't expect Trevor to actually be here. I expected him to see this and then get a text about it like 3 days later. So.
Let us get a crack at all. Look, you're going to get your chance. You're going to go to the jungle. I'm excited for it. I really believe in this North Carolina State. And look,
I don't love that Auburn roster either, frankly.
I don't either. Todd Pettiford's back, which makes them very dangerous in that aspect. They got in Sean Hall from UCF. I don't like the pieces as a whole compared to what last year was absolutely loaded. But we'll see. I think this is a perfect time for Carolina State to get them because Will Wade works magic anywhere he goes. So we'll see. Tennessee gets the Syracuse game. No, Tennessee over the last 15 years or so has been right at the top of the SEC year in and year out. And they've got to play Syracuse, who's been pretty bad in recent times, especially since joining the ACC. I get it's in the Carrier Dome. I get Ken Anthony is going to be the star of stars for Syracuse. I think Tennessee got screwed out of a marquee game in this.
I'd say so. I mean, I'm not going to lie. That Tennessee roster also doesn't really do it for me. Jacoby Gillespie is amazing. Nate Ament is I mean, he's the 4th ranked kid in the class, I believe, at this point. Somewhere had him higher than 4th. You can't have him higher than 4th in my mind. I think that's kind of crazy. But like, he's going to be good, and like, he's ready to play immediately. But like, Amari Abram, Jalen Carey, Felix Okpara, that doesn't really do it for me. And then the depth pieces don't. So I don't think Tennessee's going to be all that great. But yeah, I'd agree. They kind of deserve a decent game. And this Syracuse roster, frankly, is quite talented. Like, Nate George comes over from Georgia Tech. He was great. J.J. Starling was really good at Notre Dame in his time there. Donnie Freeman was a 5-star. William Kyle was a very highly touted transfer before not being great last year. But I just have absolutely zero faith in Red Autry. So, just straight up, I think they're going to find a way to fuck this up.
And you know what the sad thing is we're talking in Syracuse. Syracuse in these terms. Like, we grew up, especially me being older than you, grew up when Syracuse was nationally relevant every single year. And now we're talking about them like Tennessee just drew playing Alabama A&M. I mean, it's not good. Kean Anthony will be a lot of fun to watch in this system, though, for 1 year. Let's get into it. Everybody's here today to hear us blab our mouths about, as current day, as I will say again, this is not way too early. This is just current day, post-NBA draft decisions, our top 10s. Before we get into the official top 10s, there are, of course, a lot of teams that people would probably yell at us about that did not make our list. And these are separate lists, by the way, so you'll see teams pop up in different orders. Because I think we only had like 2 or 3 that matched up when I went over our top 10s. Teams that missed both of our cuts, I want to bring up real quick. Kansas. Kansas is going to be a hot topic issue because, as you mentioned at the beginning, for one, it's Kansas. 2, there are a lot of people who like this roster. I've seen some way too early top 25s that have them inside the top 10. They bring in what should be a lottery, probably top 5 pick next year in Darren Peterson. Trey White comes in from Illinois. Flory Badunga was going to transfer, backs out of it. He's coming back to be the starting center. But if you look at the roster, they have no depth in that center spot behind Flory. Marco Jackson and Jamari McDowell are back. Both have been okay in the minutes they've got, but not great. Melvin Counselor Jr. comes in. I think this is a good roster, not great. I still worry about Kansas having issues. The last 2 years, it's been shooting. This year, I'm actually concerned about their interior play. If you got Trey White as your 4 guy, Flory Badungan as your 5, and you have no depth behind either one of those as of now, I think they're in trouble in the front court.
Yeah, definitely need more depth there. 100% agreed. I'm very high on what Flory is going to be in the future, probably even next year, frankly. I think he's going to be quite good. But, Darren Peterson's also amazing. I like Melvin Counsell quite a bit as a transfer, but just not enough top. I wanted one more top tier piece to where I'd just be higher on Kansas than everybody else. And it's like, well, I'll bet on Bill Self. But this roster just doesn't do it for me. I'll probably have them when I do my top 25 in that 15 to 20 range. So I still think they're going to be good, but I don't think they're a team that I think is in competition for winning a natty.
Yeah. Another team I know we're about to get yelled at for that neither of us have them in their top 10. Now, I think we both, at least I believe they're firmly top 15 and probably closer to 10 than they are 15, but it's St. John's. You've seen all the way too early polls. Some people have them as high as 5th, and one of them I see. To me, the Johnnies are like 11 or 12. Ian Jackson comes in, takes over point guard spot. I think that'll be fine. Osiah Sellers coming in, play at the 2 guard. Josan Sanon coming in from Arizona State. Bryce Hopkins, should he be healthy? We know how good he is inside the Big East. Zuby Ejiofor, the most improved player in the conference last year, comes back to anchor the center spot. Then they have depth pieces, but do we really know how good like a Lefteris Liotopoulos can be in this system? Dylan Mitchell, we know how good he can be, but he's kind of bounced around. I'm worried about shooting again with St. John's. Now, Sanon can get hot, so can Ian Jackson. We talked about Bryce Hopkins. But I'm worried about consistent outside shooting, and will these bench pieces hold up? I think they are a top 15 team. I just don't think they're top 10 to start the season.
Yeah, I'll probably have them in that 15 range. This is probably one of my hotter takes, really. I don't love the way this roster fits together. Like, Zuby's going to be the Big East preseason player of the year. I don't really see who else you can put there, frankly. It's him. If you really want to give Caravan some credit, I guess you can do it. But, Caravan didn't really earn that last season. He was only okay, especially towards the end of the season. It's got to be Zuby, but Bryce Hopkins coming off of a knee injury and then just re-aggravated it twice, sat out, a little bit of concerns there. I'm not a Josin Sanan guy. I'm just not. I'm very surprised that was the one guy Pitino targeted as soon as the portal opened. That really surprised me. Ian Jackson at the point guard and Osiah Sellers at the 2, I think are both good players, but neither of them had above a 7% assist rate. So you're going to need someone who moves the ball. And I don't think you can play Dylan Mitchell and Bryce Hopkins together like at all, unless one of them's playing the 5, just because they're both interior players. So if you have those two on the floor with Zuby, they're going to take up so much space on that interior. And I just think they kind of eat into each other's minutes. I don't love the fit. I do not love Ian Jackson at point guard. I have real concerns if he's able to run a team. And last year, their identity was defense. They were so good defensively. Josin Sanan is not a plus defender. Bryce Hopkins is an okay, but not great defender. Ian Jackson was a bad defender last year at North Carolina. Their defense is not going to be as good as it was last year, and their offense is going to be probably be better than it was last year, right? But it's not going to be as good as their defense was last year. Their defense was 3rd in the country. Is their offense going to be third best in the country? I'm going to say no. So I think they're downgrading a little bit. I don't understand the hype behind this team. I think they just have a lot of names, and I think people are really buying into the Pitino stuff. And we'll talk later, but I don't have them winning the Big East, and I'm very confident. More confident in that than I probably should be, but I'm very confident in that.
No, I completely agree with you. I think there's a clear team that is the best team in the Big East that we're going to talk about that will show up high up in this top 10 here in a minute. But I think if there's a conference that may feel slighted as well, it would be the Big Ten, because you've seen some of these polls have UCLA way up there. Now, I like their projected starting 5. Donovan Dent coming in from New Mexico, we know is great. Sky Clark actually had a really good year for UCLA last year. Thought he was fairly consistent. Eric Daly saved their ass on numerous occasions. So did Tyler Bilodeau. They're both back. They bring in Xavier Booker in from Michigan State.
I question the Booker edition.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe new style, new change of atmosphere. We'll see. The talent's clearly there, though. It's just he pissed Izzo off, I think, with some of his attitude and effort, and he rarely saw the floor. So we'll see if Mick Cronin gets the best of him. But that roster is pretty good, at least the starting 5. I've seen some, not top 10. I'm just going over a couple teams. USC, I think some people are high on, about maybe a top 25. Oregon, I've seen some people really excited, but again, not top 10. I mean, Shellstad, Kwame Evans, and Nate Biddle are back. You had TK Simpson and or Simpkins. Shit, I can talk. Devin Pryor. Is there anybody else that you feel maybe has a case like Maryland should be top 25-ish good? With Buzz Williams as a coach, they bring in Miles Rice from Indiana, Darius Adams, a freshman, Solomon Washington joins Williams, so does Pharrell Payne. Our guy, Rakeem Passmore, that Maryland team could be really good. Anybody else, though, you think maybe could feel slighted that they're not in the top 10 discussion, like in Illinois or anybody like that?
So I don't know who you have in your top 10, which makes this interesting. If we want to spoil it, is Michigan in your top 10?
They may be. Okay.
Yeah. That was the first team that came to mind. They're not in mine. They are also very much in the conversation. There's some points you made there I disagree with. Like, I don't think this Maryland team's all that good. Like, I'm not high on Darius Adams. Like, he shot like sub 40% in the EYBL Scholastic, the new high school basketball league. Like, he's a guy who I think could be good in the future, but as of right now, I don't think is really ready for major college basketball minutes. Miles Rice, I think, is quite good, but then it's a very old school Buzz Williams roster, right?
And that's what makes me think that he could get the best. Yeah. Like a David Coit was not good for Kansas, but you put him in more of a Buzz Williams system where everything's more measured and controlled. And I think Buzz, the way his team screened like a motherfucker, I think Coit could get some more open shots than what he did with Kansas, where it's a little bit more wide open. And I think he can unlock the best out of him, especially the same way with Rakeem Passmore. Passmore, we've talked about. We've had him on the show before when he was in high school. That kid's an athletic freak. He just needs confidence and be able to play. Physicality, I think he's ready. And Buzz Williams is the perfect coach to go play for if you're trying to be physical.
I could see it. They're definitely a team I'm going to want to look into more, but I would be pretty surprised if Maryland's in my preseason top 25. Pharrell Payne is very solid. I think they're hinging on Miles Rice a lot, and where I think Miles Rice is very good. You kind of need to see it again, just because last year at Indiana, you might have some Indiana stank on him with Mike Woodson. I could not think of his name. I think Iowa could be quite good, just because Bennett Sturts is maybe. No, I'll be definitive. Is the best point guard in the country, and I think that could put you up there just based on that. The rest of that roster doesn't really do it for me. And
Alvaro Folgeras comes in, was highly recruited by some other powerhouses, Kentucky being one of them. Stretch 4 coming in from Robert Morris. I think that fits what Ben McCollum wants to do. But Brennan Housen coming in. But, man, that roster, when you're looking at this roster page, they don't have, like, anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed there. Let me see. I'm just trying to look up and down some rosters, see if there's a team that like was fairly close to making mine that I didn't put in. I kind of think those are the few. There'll definitely be some where like someone will point it out and be like, crap. I guess Baylor could be in that conversation, but the 13 new players or whatever is really scares me off a bit. But they got some talent. Just the front court, definitely a little bit of question for me. Yeah, they're not going to be a team that makes mine. Arizona, too, is going to be up there. Jaden Bradley, pretty high on Koa Pete's going to be good. Tobe Awaka, I feel like we talk about Tobe Awaka all the time. He's one of my favorite players in the country. Anthony DeLorso, Trev's guy. Shout out Trev. Really skilled. Like I think he's just going to take a step up and roll this season. He's probably going to be a starter for them. I think they could be good, but not stupid high on that roster. And I'm a huge KJ Lewis guy. So losing him, I think, is going to be more of an impact than I think people realize, just because fans, we're all kind of stupid and we just look at points rather than defense. Yeah.
No, I get that. And last thing before I promise we're going to get to top 10, I mentioned USC. I think they have one of the more intriguing roster potentials in the Big Ten. Jordan Marsh comes in from UNC Asheville, averaged 18.8 actually last year. He's undersized at 5'10", but the dude can score. Rodney Rice transferred in. Chad Baker-Mazara, we know when his head's on straight what a two-way guy he can be. Ezra, is it Usar? I always mispronounce it.
I think it's Usar.
Usar, okay. Coming in. Elijah Arenas, seems like he's on the mend. Really talented freshman. I think they've got some pieces to be one of those teams that kind of shake the mold of the Big Ten up, where they can get up and down the floor and put up a lot of points. And the league historically grinded out, more physical. I think they could be interesting this year. I don't know if top 25, but I think they could be one of those teams that could fight for the tournament with 10 transfers in, by the way. The Eric Musselman way, bring in a lot of transfers.
Yeah, which I definitely a little concerned just because they bring in so many transfers. And like on their roster, I think they have 6 guys I'd qualify as power forwards, which is definitely a little concerning. CBM, Amarian Dickerson, Ezra Asar, Terrence Williams, Jaden Burnell, Jacob Kofi. Those are all power forwards. So a little worried there. Rodney Rice, I think one of the things he wanted was to play more point guard. So I'm going to be kind of intrigued if they give him that. Elijah Arenas, hopefully he's healthy. Don't know the situation there. So yeah, I don't know. Top 25 I could see. They'll probably be in that range for me. I like this Washington team a lot too. They'll probably be in my top 25, but that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah, and the other one, Alabama, I think some people may have a gripe. LeBaron Filan, Aiden Holloway back, Aiden Sherrill back. They bring in Jalil Bisaya, Taylor Bowen from, where was he? Florida State, I think.
Florida State, yeah, and then Wright.
Florida State. Latrell Wrightsel's back from injury. Davion Hanna is back. Noah Williamson they bring in from Bucknell. That's a good team. Houston Mallett, remember, didn't he redshirt last year? Coming in from Pepperdine, a sniper. I think Alabama's going to have another really good team. Not as good as last year or even the year before, but I think they'll be good again. Let's get into our top 10. So we'll pull them up here. We'll start with number 10. As everybody's watching live with us here on the YouTube, on Twitter, and on Facebook can see. We start with number 10. We already out the gate have different number 10s. DeRosa, San Diego State. Nobody loves the Mountain West more than Michael DeRosa. San Diego State, Utah State, New Mexico. When Colorado State's good, he's blowing that horn too. So San Diego State, number 10 for DeRosa. I go with Arkansas Razorbacks. If you want to start and make your case for San Diego State, take it away.
Yeah, all right, I'll take this off. When I do this in probably our top 25s in 3 months?
Yeah.
San Diego State probably won't be 10th in mine. I just wanted to talk about them. I'm going to throw off my baseball hat, by the way, because fuck baseball. We're on basketball now. Listen, I think the Sandy, they're going to be like 15th for me, frankly, but I just want to talk about them now. I have them, I bet a national title future on San Diego State. I got it at 300-1. So that's really the reason I want to talk about them right now. I'm going to talk about this all season. So I have them I bet it. So I'm going to be focused on this all season. I'm going to hedge it as we get to the tournament, obviously. I don't expect them to win the national title, but considering they're a team that I think is going to win a game, be favored in the first game in the tournament, and I got it at 300-1, I'm very proud of that. So let's talk about this roster now. They returned just about everybody from last season. Last season, they weren't great. They were an 11 seed, and they got boat raced in by North Carolina in that game, if you remember. But returning on this team, you have Magoon Goff, who Kentucky fans all loved for 3 days. And then he decommits, and then he's the worst player to ever do it. But he was good enough to be recruited by Kentucky, which means you're probably pretty good at basketball. Farrell Compton returns. Miles Bird returns as legit. Him coming back from the NBA draft kind of surprised me, frankly. Thought he was a guy that could have been a decent second-round pick. Him coming back. Reese Waters coming back. That's experience in that backcourt. And then Sean Newman as point guard at the transfer. Not a great jump shooter. So jump shooting is definitely the concern with this team, but he averaged 8 assists a game last year and just 3 turnovers. The dude knows how to facilitate. He knows how to run a team, and he's a guy you can't really speed up. And defensively, this team's going to have an identity. It's a Brian Dutcher team. You know they're going to defend at San Diego State. They're long. They're athletic. It's going to translate well. I think this team is very good. I think they're one of the 15 best teams in the country. And just looking at a sportsbook, not going to name names because they ain't pay us nothing, but just some of the teams around them, above them, Villanova is at 100-1. That team's not going to make the damn tournament. Xavier is at 110-1. That team's not going to make the damn tournament. Marquette's up there. SMU is up there. SMU hasn't beaten a good team since maybe Obama was president, so they're not going to do nothing. Clemson loses a lot. These teams aren't really comparable in talent. Does anyone really trust Jerome Tang at 150-1? No. Cincinnati, do they deserve any trust? No. San Diego State's right there. That's a team that has proven they've been to the Final Four. They've done it before. They have a clear culture. This defense is going to be excellent. Guath can defend the rim. Farrell Compton's there. He is an excellent defender, excellent athlete. Miles Bird's one of the best 5 to 7 defenders in the country, and that might even be a slight to him. He's going to get out and defend. The jump shooting is definitely the concern. Let's be real. This team is not going to be a good shooting team. You're hoping BJ Davis and Latrell Davis off the bench can really hit some shots. But this team's going to be good. They're going to be competing. They're going to have a lower seed next to their name in that first round, probably even in that second round too. I think this team's going to be quite good. I think people have we're really sleeping on the San Diego State team, and I think people got to wake up. This team's going to be damn good. That this defense is going to be about as good as anyone in the country.
Look, I mean, everything you said is typical San Diego State for the last 20 years, it seems like. Great defensively. You worry about their jump shooting. They're going to attack the paint and get to the free throw line is how they're going to live. But look, I don't hate it because Magoon Guath, 7 foot, but he's not it says 7 foot 205, but he is a skinny 7 footer that possesses ability, at least the skill set, to maybe stretch the floor a little bit. We'll see if he's improved on that over the course of the summer. But defensively, he's going to block shots like crazy at the rim in the Mountain West Conference. I'm with you. I think this team is worthy of high regard. Top 10, maybe not, but defensively, they're going to be there, and that's how they're going to win a lot of ball games. I'm with you. I think this team could be really good, but they're going to go as far as their shooting and scoring allows them to go. Defensively, though, they're going to be a nightmare for a lot of teams.
They're not going to be a team you want to match up with in the tournament. You won't want to play them. You'll have to, but you won't want to.
Yeah, I agree with that, too. Remember last year, they really tested themselves in the non-conference schedule. I'm curious to see what their non-con this year looks like because I think we'll get a good indicator about somewhere around mid-December of what they could look like as we head into March or get closer to it. So I'm really curious on that. My number 10 team in this preseason top 10 here is Arkansas. Now, I debated with them, Texas Tech, Kansas, some of those teams we mentioned just a little bit ago. The Razorbacks, look, DJ Wagner comes back. Why? Honestly, I don't know. He was coming in. I know he was thinking to being a one and done. Now he would find himself as a junior. But in all fairness, when Boogie Flan got hurt last year, he got switched primary point guard is when Arkansas took off. If you remember from early February on when they got that win at Kentucky, they were one of the better 10 to 12 teams in the country. The way they started defending, the way they were shooting the ball, actually, the way they were getting to the rim defending. DJ Wagner was at the point of that. You bring him back. You bring Billy Richmond, the third back, who about that same time started showing a lot of growth. Same with Carter Knox, could be preseason one of the two all SEC teams. He was making shots. He was a long, lanky defender when Arkansas would switch out on defense. Trevon Brazile from February on, when they made the run to Sweet 16, burying 2 or 3 threes a game. They bring those guys back. They bring in 5-star freshman phenoms, Darius Acuff, Malik Thomas, to run the point, small or shooting guard area. I could see Malik Thomas, depending on lineup, could slide down to the small forward a little bit. But those two dudes, scoring ability, can they defend at the college level? We'll find out, but they've got to make – Darius Acuff can really, really make plays happen. I think he's more that mold of a traditional Calipari point guard that he likes, that will be in the NBA the next year. They bring in Malik Ewing coming in from Florida State to shore up a big-bodied bruiser, rebounder on the interior. Also to back him up likely is Nick Pringle, former Alabama, played last year at South Carolina, a rim protector. And then some of these other guys, Isaiah Sealy, we'll see what his rotation minutes are. Paolo Sameto, some of those guys. Look, Cal's going to do Cal. He's going to play 7 dudes, maybe 8. Acuff, Thomas, Knox, Brazile, Malik Ewing, DJ Wagner, Billy Richmond, Nick Pringle. 8 dudes. If Sealy, Sameto see any significant time, then we'll adjust from there. But those 8 dudes I just mentioned all fit what Cal wants to do, where he plays more of a half court, run when they can. He wants to always say they try to push it. But, do they really anymore? They don't really press. But they shored up a weakness I thought that they needed. And not only one big, but they got a second there with Nick Pringle as kind of a different type of veteran big who protect the rim. They've got electric elite guards. I think, in a way, shot making, especially from the outside, is going to be their Achilles heel. But if Carter Knox, if Trevon Brazile start shooting like they did from February into March, then that changes how I really view Arkansas. I think the talent's there. Cal's got a team that fits what he likes to do best. I think, to me, this is a top 10 team heading into next year.
I had them as my first team outside the top 10, so I very much see it. The reason I didn't end up putting them in there was the front court gives me a little bit of questions. Ewan was very productive, but I don't know how he's going to be productive at the next level on a better team next year. Concerns there. Trevon Brazile is a guy I feel like we've talked about having a breakout 5 ever. At this point, he just kind of is who he is at this point, And I'm not super high on him being the starting 4 on a top 10 team. Could he be? Absolutely. But I kind of want to see it first before I'm really in. He was pretty good in that St. John's game, if I remember correctly. Yeah. But, I mean, the backcourt you mentioned, Acuff, Wagner. I'm not as high on Malik Thomas as others are. I think he's okay, but I think he's kind of a chucker at this point. I think he kind of needs to settle into a role. I'd expect him to come off the bench. I'd expect DJ Wagner to start. The Carter Knox breakout, I definitely want to dig in on him a little bit more, but it seems like a bunch of smart people are talking about Carter Knox being a dude next year. So that's definitely a look for me. If he is that dude, they could sneak into my top 10 without a doubt. Just want to look and see how he progresses, how those go. But yeah, I very much see Arkansas as a top 10 team. You've got talent. You've got Coach Cal who's proven it. You got freshmen who are good. You have veterans up front who know how to bang and know how to play in a physical league like the SEC. You've got talent everywhere. I think this team's going to be quite good.
And I'll say this as a bold statement, because everybody goes into this league thinking Tennessee is going to be the number 1 defense. I think there's potential Arkansas could lead the league in defensive efficiency and categories if they play like they did from February on, because they were elite defensively. And you've got 2 rim protectors, bruisers that'll rebound missed shots, and Ewing and Nick Pringle. I think if they come out with the gate like they did to finish last year, I think you're looking at maybe like a top 10 type defense of all of college basketball. I think the potential is there for it. Let's move on to team number 9. You asked about Michigan. I got the Michigan Wolverines at number 9. You've got Texas Tech. They were number 11 or 12 or whatever on mine when we were filling this out. The loss of Darian Williams to North Carolina State swapped them for me. Had he returned, Texas Tech is clearly a top 10 team. Without him, I love JT Toppin. I love some of the guys, Christian Anderson coming back to run the point. I don't love them as a whole without Darian Williams. I still think they're really talented, but just not top 10 right now for me. But you have them. Explain your case for them being ninth.
Yeah, the Christian Anderson breakout's happening. That dude is amazing. He's going to be one of the better point guards in the country. He's awesome. JT Toppin, at this point is one of the 4 guys on the short list for National Player of the Year. So, like, just going to give the endpoint some respect. And I like Lawan Watts a lot, the Washington State transfer. He's very solid. He's a guy that I think could replace a lot of what Darian Williams gave them last year, frankly. Like, I think he's in that Darian Williams mold. He's bigger wing. He does it all. He can handle the ball. He can kick it. He can shoot it a little bit. He can drive to the lane and finish. I understand your concerns with the other 2 guys in the starting lineup. Tyree Bryant, I think he gives them a lot of shooting. And then Donovan Atwell was on that very fun UNC Wilmington team. How productive those 2 are going to be at the Big 12 level is definitely going to be really a judger of how well this team does. And the depth on this team is a little concerned. They were in that range for me, but I love Lawan Watts, and really it's just respect for the National Player of the Year. Plus, I get to talk about Christian Anderson a little bit more, who's going to be one of the best 12 point guards in the country. So I'll take those three studs. That big 3, I think, is probably about as good as you're going to find on any team that would be this ranked or below. So I'm in.
No, I like it. And I don't think they're too far off on mine.
Yeah.
The losing a guy like Darian Williams, as we saw in the tournament, how many big shots did he make against Arkansas to keep them alive? So you lose that with his experience defending. I think that to me, that's got to take him down a notch. Now, I know I'm probably in the minority because, again, I've seen a lot of people have him as high as like 6 or whatever. I think it takes him down just a little bit. Michigan, for me, now they would have been outside the top 10 had Yaxley Lindenborg not declared to come back and not go in the NBA draft, which kind of surprised me. I think when we all talked about it, we thought when he committed to Michigan, we're like, well, it's kind of a ghost commitment because he's going to the league. He decided a few weeks back that no, he's coming back, which really to me makes Michigan good. Elliot Cadeau coming in to take over the point guard spot from North Carolina. Roddy Gale back for a second year with Michigan. Didn't really show his best last year, but we know from his Ohio State days what kind of player he can be. Namari Burnett has been around for a long time. Texas Tech, Michigan, not really shown his best with the Wolverines. I think the talent's still there. Yaxel Lindenborg, one of the top transfer gets in all of college basketball, was a stud for UAB, led them in like almost every major offensive category possible. He is an NBA talent. You put him in at a power forward that can take guys off the bounce, that can go rebound. That's a huge pickup for Dusty May, and especially the system Dusty runs. I think Yaxel can really eat. Morris Johnson coming in from Illinois, still a very young dude. I think he's only like 19. Played a year last year for Illinois, was highly regarded, had draft prospects, enters the portal, goes to Michigan. You get an extreme talent like that, big body dude at center to really help shore up some, not only in the defensive end, but the way Michigan kind of likes to crash on offensive rebounds. I think Morris Johnson could play a big role in that. You look at some of the freshmen, Trey McKinney coming in, Winters Grady coming in, Will Tesher is back, Ade Mara comes in to kind of back up Morris Johnson at 7'3". This is a big team. This is an experienced team. I think we can see the best of Elliot Cadeau now that he's not in the shadow of R.J. Davis or Caleb Love or in that mess that North Carolina has been in the last few years. He gets to go play for a coach that allows his guards to play with freedom, to spread it out. He's got dudes around him he can spray it to, which only opens up for him on driving lines and kickouts for threes. If, let's say, Lindenborg gets in the post, a ball reversal, his feet set, we know Cadeau can score. I love this Michigan team. I think the potential is there, but to me, it also hinders on the fact, do we get the best of Roddy Gale? Do we get the best of Namari Burnett? If you get the best of both those two, Michigan could absolutely compete for another Big Ten title and be there for another March run. But I love the talent on this team.
I think you mentioned just about my entire thoughts on this team. We just have them ranked a little bit differently. You mentioned Yaxel, amazing. They might even be a little higher on Morris Johnson than you. I think he's going to start. I think he's going to be quite good in this league, frankly. I think he's legit. It's just my concerns, the backcourt, why I didn't have them on this list. Elliot Cadeau, for all his flaws, one thing we'll go back to our interview with Coach May. One thing he mentioned that he wanted his team to be better at was assist to turnover ratio, right? Mm-hmm. Elliot Cadeau, for all his flaws, really good at passing the ball and not turning it over. So I think that was very clearly the point of emphasis, but he's a smaller guard who isn't really able to shoot. So a little bit of questions there. And Gale and Burnett, you mentioned. I I think they need to be good for Michigan they need to be really good for Michigan to reach this ceiling.
At least one of them. Probably Gale more, because I think he has more offensive potential than Burnett does, but one of them has to be great all year.
Yeah. And I think the Yaxel Morris Johnson front court is just excellent. I want to see how it works. I think the fits are going to be a little goofy, but I think they'll make it work. Dusty May is a great coach, and he made it work last year with Wolf and Golden, and that was a fit I probably would have questioned coming into the season. So my questions are going to be the same, but Dusty can definitely answer that. He's proven that. But yeah, Burnett, Gale, that's the question for me. Can those guys really consistently hit outside shots and consistently create their own looks, frankly? That would be some of the questions. And you mentioned freshman Trey McKinney, very skilled. Very skilled. He's got a pro bag. Athletically, he's not there yet. But like skill-wise, he's got a pro bag.
And Will Tesher was great coming off the bench in spurts for Michigan last year. So putting back in that same role, I think, look, Cadeau, as we've both talked about, he's out of the shadow. It was hard sometimes running point guard for North Carolina. When you had to feed Caleb Love, you had to feed R.J. Davis when, of course, Caleb Love was there. When you had to feed R.J. Davis especially, it was hard. He knows he's going to Michigan. He's got the keys to the car all by himself. I think you're going to see the best of Elliot Cadeau. I really like this Michigan team. Let's move on to number 8. This is where things start getting really interesting here because I have BYU. I love the potential of BYU coming off of year 1 where they make a Sweet 16. And, man, I just forgot their coach's name.
Kevin Young.
Kevin Young, thank you. In his first year, they bring in the consensus number 1 player in AJ DeBonsa. Richie Saunders is back. I love this team. You have Kentucky. Explain why you have Kentucky 8 when some people, and they're going to show up in my list a little higher in this, but think that they can really compete towards the top.
Yeah, so I would say starters, I want to know the health of Jaden Quaintance. We expect him to be back, but like it's a question we have at this point because we are talking in July, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jalan Lowe, I'm really high on. I like the starting lineup a lot, frankly. Jalan Lowe, Denzel Aberdeen, Otega Owe, Mo Diabate, and Jaden Quaintance. Diabate, a potential guy. He didn't really show it last year at Alabama. You're hoping he takes that step forward. Aberdeen's proven winner on a team. Jalan Lowe is, I think, going to be really good when he's not asked to do literally everything. I think Pope's going to have him work, and I think he's going to show he's a legit NBA player. So all those things very good. And Otega Owe, you know how high I was on Otega Owe entering the year. I think that's probably one of the things I got most right. He was amazing, and he's going to be amazing again. He's going to be a guy that competes for SEC Player of the Year. My questions are, it's the depth. I like Cam Williams. I think he's going to be quite good. But just looking up and down the rest of this depth, Brandon Garrison's going to be a good depth forward too. I'm not super high on Jesper Johnson. I think he'll work in a depth role, but okay. Colin Chandler, I think is going to be solid, but again, not high on it. And then Trent Noah, I don't know if he's going to get any minutes. Braden Hawthorne, was he ranked like 20th in the country as for freshman?
He flew up the
as soon as he committed to Kentucky.
No. Even before that, he jumped like 40 spots
when he was about to commit to Kentucky. And it was completely unmerited. With all due respect, I think he is ranked like 80, 90 spots too high. I don't think he really contributes much.
Well, I don't think he's going to. He's going to be more like the 11th guy or whatever the case may be.
I agree. And yeah. I think for a guy on a team like this, that's more than fine. And I think he could be a good college player down the line, but I don't think he's ready right now, like at all. I don't think he's going to contribute much. So questions would just be when Lamont Butler went down last year, right? Who kind of ran the offense for Kentucky? It was either Owe, Jackson Robinson, but like it was something they kind of struggled with. I don't think they have a backup point guard again. Are you going to run Aberdeen at the 1? Is it Owe again?
It'll be Jasper Johnson, I think. Yeah.
I don't think he's a point. I really think he's more of a 2, more of a chucker. So that's a little concern for me. I don't love the depth, but I think the starting lineup's great. I think they're going to find a way to work. I think they're going to be very well coached. I think they got shooting. I think they're going to be much better defensively. I think Jaden Quaintance could be an All-American. So I could see how this team performs higher. Frankly, there are 2 teams I have ranked above them that I've definitely got some questions about. Just as soon as I sent the list to you, it's like, ooh, that feels a little high for that team considering some of these things. But I mean, we're talking in June. I'm going to change my opinions on these teams. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And I'll save mine because I've got them a little higher than this. So I'll save the full thing. But I'll give you a counterpoint because I think what you said is pretty accurate. I'll just give you a slight counterpoint to justify why I have them higher. But number 8 for me is BYU. And we love BYU. I know you have them higher, so you'll kind of do the same thing for BYU. Rob Wright III coming in from Baylor. What an explosive point guard. This team, in typical BYU fashion, is going to be able to score the shit out of the ball. Rob Wright running point guard. That is an NBA player running point guard for BY freaking U. Richie Saunders back. A do-it-all do-it-all shooting guard / small forward. Will defend his ass off. Can really shoot from outside. Not even sneaky athletic no more. The dude's athletic. Can get to the rim. Got good balance. Kennard Davis Jr. coming in. Projected to be in that small forward role. AJ DeBonsa, the number 1 player in the class. Projected to be the number 1 pick in the next year's NBA draft. What more can you say? Got the bag to come to BYU. Good on BYU for showing some of that fuck you money out there, by the way, to bring in AJ DeBonsa. That'll be really fun to watch and interesting. The number 1 player in the country just went to BYU. I mean, let that set in. Keba Keita coming back, kind of a bulky center that will defend, that sets picks, and not much of a scoring threat. It can score around the rim, but he's there to really defend and facilitate for that team, which they're going to need because they've got shooters and scorers. Dawson Baker coming off the bench, I really like. This team, of course, got international flavor with Mihailo Boskovic coming in. I like this team. I love their starting 5 potential. The bench, I think there's depth there with Nate Pickens and Dawson Baker and Dominic Diomande. I think that there is potential for that bench to go 8 or 9 deep. Unfortunately, just need to see it and how it works and how minutes and facilities go as far as not facilities, facilitating the ball goes with some of these bench guys. But that starting 5 would crack my top 10 regardless. Rob Wright, NBA player. AJ DeBonsa, NBA player. Richie Saunders, I know it sounds crazy, could be one of those dudes that either goes 2nd round or undrafted that you look up in a couple years. He's got a role in the NBA team because he can shoot and he's athletic and he can defend. This team is damn fun to watch, and watching them go against some of the Goliaths we'll talk about in the Big 12 this year will be a lot of fun. The one thing I worry about with this team, the offense will be there again. They'll score 90 plus again. Can they stop teams when it matters? But if you've got Rob Wright, an NBA player, and you've got another NBA player, probably the number 1 pick in AJ DeBonsa, I will trust that. Plus, Kevin Young is a really good young and up-and coach. There's a lot to love about BYU right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I agree with literally everything you said. They're one of the teams I kind of want to bump down a little bit, but you mentioned the exact reason why I have them so high. A trio of Rob Wright, Richie Saunders, who was amazing to end the year last year, and AJ DeBonsa, that's amazing. That is incredible.
Do you want to save your full breakdown when we get there for you? Or
yeah, we'll leave that there. There.
Yeah, I don't want to short you on your breakdowns here. Look, number 7, our first one we've agreed on, the Louisville Cardinals, so we can talk about this team together. I think Louisville, 7 may be a little too low. Now, I don't know if they can go any higher than that, really, but, dude, this is a top 10 team. They brought in a couple transfers. A big-time freshman, Michael Brown Jr. is going to be one of the absolute best freshmen in college basketball this year. You bring in Ryan Conwell, a sniper from Xavier. You bring in Isaac Manili from Virginia, a sniper. Kashawn Pryor's back after injuring himself earlier in the year because he was having a good year prior to the injury. 6'10", athletic power forward kind of dude that can really stretch the floor. Sonata Friel, international dude coming in from Germany that you have to watch a lot of tape on him, but people love his game. He's projected to start. Adrian Woolley coming in from the Kennesaw State. Kobe Rogers, Javon Hadley's back, who had really good games and moments last year. Ali Khalifa, I think, is still up in the air, right? I think there's something going on with him, but if he plays, that is another versatile big. There's a lot to love about this Louisville team. What do you see? Well, maybe as a whole. Is it defense again with this team, or do you think they've shored it up enough?
Defense and interior play, I think, is the whole. This is another team that I wouldn't stun me if when we're doing our top 25s, again, a couple months from now, if they're outside my top 10, right? I can see them moving the other way, frankly. I think this is probably the highest I'll have them just because the defense. I have questions with the defense, but you mentioned offensively. I mean, this team's going to be able to get buckets. Mikel Brown, Ryan Conwell, Isaac McNeely, Adrian Woolley. Those guys are going to be able to score the ball. Kason Pryor is going to be able to score the ball. I think you're going to need a lot out of Javon Hadley. I think he's probably going to have to play a lot of minutes just because he's one of those guys that can do a lot and doesn't command touches. He doesn't need to have the ball to be effective versus McNeely, Conwell, Brown, Woolley all need the ball a lot to be effective. Fru's a guy I haven't looked into too much. I watched a little bit of highlights after our last show, and I think he can play, but I don't know if he's going to be like a legit awesome big man. I think he's just going to be solid. And frankly, I think that's all this team needs. But the defense would be a question just because I don't think Conwell or McNeely are really plus defenders. I don't know how freshman point guard's going to defend, and I don't think Woolley's going to be a plus defender at all. So, and also the fit, just like how do these pieces all fit together? Because Conwell, Woolley, and McNeely, they all do the same thing, right? They're all kind of gunners from the guard spot who are best with the ball in their hands and can kind of run a team a little bit, but like not really, but really good shooters. So I'm really interested in the fit. And if Coach Kelsey can really get these guys to all buy in and being all for one, and if they are, I think they could achieve the 7th ranking. If they're not, they're probably going to be closer to that 15 to 20 range. But yeah, they're up here because of the way this team is going to be able to shoot that ball. They're going to shoot the shit out of it.
And the thing that we saw last year, especially in his first year at Louisville, Kelsey wants his team to jack up 30 plus threes. And they've got gunners. Conwell, Michael Brown, NBA player, lottery pick on your team, starting at point guard, projected, can really score the basketball, can really attack the rim with that athleticism. You saw back at last week in the U19 FIBA team that's going to go over to Switzerland, he hammered all over Kentucky's freshman Malachi Moreno. 6'3" guard hammering on a 7-footer. That tells you all you need to know. Conwell, McNeely, Woodley, like they all can shoot the ball, and Kelsey's the perfect coach because he wants to let them jack it up. This team could be one of those teams you look up and they shoot like 41% from three on 35 attempts per game. But I think they've got potential to do that. Since we agreed on Team 7, let's go back to a disagreement, Team 6. I mentioned my case why I have BYU 8th. You have them 6th. I have the Dukies 6th. Now go ahead and lay it out what your thoughts are on BYU in full.
Yeah, I'm not going to take too much time. I completely agree with everything you said. They're another team I was thinking about bumping down just because of the defense. But that trio of Saunders, Dubance is as good as you're going to find in the entire country. They're amazing. It's just how does the rest of the roster fit? And I'm definitely worried about the center play, particularly for the defense. Stanton, I don't think is very good at all. I think he's another guy that I think is overrated. Kebakeda, worried about how he's going to defend just because he's a little undersized. How are you going to defend some of these bigger teams, especially if Dubance is doing that superstar thing where they're just like, yeah, I'm going to go down and score 30 today, but like I can take some positions off defensively. So little concerned there. And like Dubance doesn't have that same wire to winning that the guy you're going to talk about, Cam Boozer, does. Cam Boozer's wired to win. Dubance is amazing, and he's going to be a superstar. You're going to hear his name for the next 20 years when you're talking basketball. But just a little worried if he wants to like superstar it out and just kind of sit back, collect the check, and then wait till he goes top 3 in 12 months from now, actually, because the draft's tomorrow. But that'd be my concern with this team. But yeah, the offensive talent is all there. Depth is the concern. Defense is a concern. I'm probably going to bump them down a little bit, but they're in this range for a reason, and it's those 3 players.
No, look, I completely agree with a lot you said there. I just think BYU's defensive issues could be a cause for concern, but I'm not terribly worried about it, if that makes sense. I've got Duke. Now, I know people are going to give me shit. Why Duke? Look at all the talent. But let's be honest. The Boozer twins are awesome. Isaiah Evans, really talented. Patrick Ngongba, the second, he's good. Caleb Foster is a flamethrower. We saw that last year. Was at the Auburn game that he came in and hit like 7 threes off the bench where he barely didn't even play in the Kentucky game at the beginning of the year. They've got talent. They're Duke. They're always going to have talent. I think this team would have been closer to definitely top 5, would have been bumped up a couple spots had Shelton Henderson not decommitted and went to Miami. I think Shelton Henderson, because you look that they're projected to start Dame Sarr at small forward. Dame Sarr is talented. Freshman coming in, 6'7", athletic, long, but he's not Shelton Henderson. I think Shelton Henderson would have been the
You're sleeping on Sarr. Sarr's a dude.
Look, I think Sarr is really good. I think Henderson is better, and I think had he stayed at Duke, Henderson would have been their starting 3 guard. But nonetheless, I think Duke's really talented, and we've seen under Coach Scheyer that defense has improved year over year. Last year, they made a Final Four. Yes, they had the number 1 overall pick, and yes, they had the lottery picks on the team. They could really score, but they don't get that far if that defense doesn't lock teams up like Alabama when they needed to. Like they locked Alabama up down the stretch when they absolutely needed to, and that's really hard to do. Can this defense continue to roll? Because the Boozer twins on the circuit and in high school, they dominated, no doubt about it. But is Patrick Ngangba the common Malawatch, a rim protector that he can erase shots? Can Cam Boozer rotate over and protect the rim the way Cooper Flagg could, or even get out on switches and defend, let's say, a 4-on-1 pick and roll switch? We'll find out. Clearly, the Boozers are very talented. I just think Duke is taking a slight step back. And if your slight step back is going from number 1 to number 6, like you're in good spot. I just don't think they'll be top 5. I think they need – look, they can score, but is their shooting percentage going to be as good as it was? Like, Caleb Foster can let it rip. I don't know. Like, I have some questions about Duke, but I still respect them enough with the talent. I have them 6.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said aside from the Dame Sarr versus Shelton Henderson point.
Look, we can agree to disagree. We're going to find out. They're going to play each other multiple times this year. To me personally, I just thought Shelton Henderson was perfect made for Duke. Now it'll be perfect made for Miami, and that Miami team could be – they're not going to be great, but they're going to be a lot better than they were.
It'd be hard to be worse.
It'd be hard to be worse. So, I don't know. I just think had they had Henderson, they would have been a few spots higher in my ranking. Let's go to finally top 5, and lo and behold, we agree again. Coming in at 5th for both of us is the reigning defending national champion Florida Gators. Of course, you win a title, you lose a lot. Denzel Aberdeen goes off to Kentucky. You lose Walter Clayton Jr. to graduation. He's gone to the draft. All the pieces they lose. But Michael, what did they bring in return? Oh, Princeton super point guard Xavier Lee comes in. Oh, projected at one point lottery pick prior to the injury. Boogie Fland comes in from Arkansas, 5-star kid. Thomas Huff, Alex Condon, Ruben Chinule is back. Urban Clavsar got some minutes and a decent roll off the bench last year. Micah Hanlogton is back again. This is not the same Florida team, but it's going to be another really damn good Florida team. They replaced veteran guards with very talented, experienced veteran guards at this point. There's a lot to love about the reigning champs.
Yeah, this feels so weird to say. I think people are sleeping on Boogie Fland.
Oh, I do too.
Amazing.
I do too. I think the injury, and he didn't really show everything at Arkansas when he was healthy.
Yeah, he didn't show everything, and then he got hurt, and people just kind of forgot. I think they're going to be reminded. Xavier Lee's going to be very good. I think Fland's going to be the better of the two, frankly, but I think Xavier Lee's going to be good. Definitely the depth is a concern. I don't love any of the depth pieces on this team, to be quite honest with you, but Hawk, Condon, Ruben Chinyelu, those are all guys who won a national title. You know, they've all played a national title. They're experienced winning. Is 5, there's a chance 5's a little high and they just finish around that 12 to 15 range. But, like, I think you got to give them respect that they just won a national title.
Yep.
You do lose Walter Clayton. You do lose some of the bigs. But I don't know. I think this team is quite good. I think those Haw and Condon are only going to get better. And I think Boogie Flynn's not going to be Walter Clayton. He's not. But I think he's going to be very good. And I think people are forgetting a little bit. I think this team's going to be quite good. Maybe this ends up being a little high retroactively speaking, but I think they've earned this spot. This roster is quite talented.
The one thing about Florida that scares me is we raved last year, back when we all realized like this team could win a title back in late January when they went on the road and beat the dog shit out of Auburn. We like, dude, they have no flaws. They can score, they can defend, they've got great depth. The depth isn't as good as this year, but man, you bring in Thomas Hout and Alex Condon back. Dude, you saw how key they were in that title run last season. Those two dudes coming back, so you already shore up, hey, you've got two dudes on the floor at all times with those two that'll get every 50-50 ball, will slide over and take charges. Both can step out and make threes. Both are really good passers. And then Chinule, who had a great year last year when people looked down on him coming from the Big East. Like, there's pieces here. Can a guy like Alex Lloyd or even Urban Clavsar come in and step up and lead that second unit? I think will determine whether Florida stays as a top 5 team. Maybe they slide down and regress a little bit, but that starting 5 is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Let's go with our number 4 teams. We're back to the disagreements here. You're going to hate this because I know where you have the Huskies. I think they are very, 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 very good. Again, after some would say a down year last year, coming off back-to-back national titles, they still made the second round and almost tucked down Florida. Could have ended that national championship hope in the second round and gave them a game. But, man, they're back this year in a big, big way. You have the Duke Blue Devils. Now, I know I just talked about Duke. You said you agreed with a lot, but tell me why you think they're 4.
Yeah, Dame Sarr, I think is better than you think he is. I think he's quite good. I think he's going to be an NBA player next year. And Cam Boozer's just wired to win. That dude just wins. He's a winner. Definitely concerned at the point guard spot. Last year, Duke didn't have a point guard. That was their main flaw. This year, I like Caden Boozer a lot. Are they going to be comfortable starting a freshman who is not super highly touted? I'm not sure, but I like Caden a lot, frankly. I think he just knows what, also, much like his brother, he knows what it takes to win a basketball game. So I think he's going to play a decent bit, and then you're going to hope you can get Foster, Evans, whoever, running the offense and doing enough to get it going. I think defensively, they're still going to be a monster. Between Malik Brown and Patrick Ngongba up front, I'd expect Brown to start, frankly, assuming he is fully healthy. That's a monster group. That's going to be really, really good. I think they're going to defend their ass off. I think they're fairly well coached. I think Shire's kind of learning what it takes to win at this level. And I don't think they're going to be as reliant on Cam Boozer as they were Cooper Flagg last year. I don't know if the supporting pieces are as good, but I think some of the depth is a little better. Darren Harris, I was the best shooter in last year's class. If he gets going off the bench and starts hitting some shots, they're going to be a really, really good team. And if he doesn't, he's going to be a transfer that literally everybody in the country wants. Caleb Foster, experience. You had that game you mentioned where he hit like 7 or 8 threes. Isaiah Evans, experience, length, really solid. I think the team's going to be quite good. I think Sarr is going to get a lot of buckets. I think Cam Boozer is just going to do what it takes to win because that man is just wired to win. He won at Peach Jam. He won high school. He won just about everywhere you could possibly win. Cam Boozer won. So I think that has to be given a lot of respect. I have him 4th just because of that. And I'm not going to lie, I don't hate your UConn placement at all. I think I have UConn about as high as you possibly can. So I think, frankly, if anything, I have them too high. Your placement is more than fine. The people who have them like 12th, I argue with.
Yeah, dude, this team's loaded. I do have UConn 4. Like I said, for what you consider a down year last year, still made the round of 32 and gave the eventual national champions everything they wanted and more. And that's with a ton of flaws on that team, missing free throws in big games against Villanova, not getting defensive stops throughout the year when they need it, or not be able to shoot worth a shit, getting blown out in just about every game in Maui to what they turned into. Hurley is still the man in college basketball coaching. And then this year he said, all right, we had a down year last year. That shit sucked. Let's get back to championship ways. Silas Demery comes in to run your point guard spot. Now, everybody knows we have a relationship with the Demery family. He's been on multiple times, both as a high school senior and when he was first year at Georgia. We know the family. We know Silas. So bias aside, the kid in 2 years at Georgia developed a jump shot because he came in as primarily a big body driver. You could leave him open to shoot. He turned into a damn reliable shooter last year for the Bulldogs on a team that underperformed, in my opinion, but still made the NCAA tournament. He comes in to run Danny Hurley's system, defends his ass off, is a reliable shooter now, can attack the paint, and he can facilitate with exactly with the motions and schemes that Hurley runs. I think Silas Demery fits like a hand in a well-made glove for this UConn system. And then, by the way, you bring back essentially 4 starters. Solo Ball, Jalen Stewart, Alex Caravan, who's 2-time national championship player, made big shots in his career so far, comes back to try to finish his career out with 3 titles. Terrace Reed coming in from Michigan last year, his first year with UConn. He was really solid for him. Malachi Smith comes in from Dayton to play backup essentially to Silas Demery on that second unit from Dayton. Shot 38.3% from 3, 5.3 assists, 2.9 rebounds, and 10.4 points per game. Braylon Mullins, kid from right up the road for me, a 5-star from Greensfield. Not Greensfield. What is it? I just forgot the damn high school now. But he's up the road about an hour from me. Really can shoot the shit out of the ball. Indiana fans mad that he left the state. Looked like he was going to IU. They didn't apparently put enough effort into him. He goes up to Dan Hurley and plays for UConn. You're bringing him in off the bench. That is an immediate shooter scorer. He'll have to get stronger. He'll have to learn to defend, or Hurley won't play him. We've seen that in years past. But, man, Jaden Ross, this team is freaking loaded. This is what Dan Hurley, when he has those great teams, He has bigs. He has a rotational big, is what you'll see with Terrace Reed Jr. and then Eric Rebay. And then he has loaded at guard play. Alex Caravan back. This is such a great, like, at least on paper, UConn roster. We'll see if the pieces mold and fit, like Demery and Malachi Smith and Braylon Mullins. Can they fit the veterans who've been there, done that? But, man, this team has so much potential to go get another national championship. I love what UConn has done with this roster.
Agree with everything. Everything.
Let's go to team number 3 here. This is where I have the Wildcats. Now, I will say, I think teams 1 through 4, I think there's 1 and 2, little separation, and I think 3, 4, and 5 can kind of be mixed around. But you have Purdue here. Now, a lot of people have them either preseason or consensus 1 or 2. You have them 3. I have the Cats 3. Talk to me why you have Purdue 3, because they bring back literally just about everybody.
Yeah, they do. My one concern with them and why I have them, third, like versus other people having them first, I still think they're going to be awesome. It's the defense. Dracoff was not a very good rim protector last year, like at all. Like teams scored around the rim pretty easily against Purdue. You bring in Oscar Clough to try to address some of that. Just to stereotype a little bit, he's coming from the Summit League. The Summit League doesn't play any fucking defense, so definitely a little concern there. That's the main concern. But Braden Smith is the best player in the country at this point. He's the National Player of the Year favorite, and deservedly so. He's earned that. Dracoff and Rim, that 1-2 punch is as good as you're going to find on literally any team in the country. You're not going to find better. You're just not going to. It's just the rest of the pieces. How do they fit together? How does Fletcher Lawyer take that step, prove he's either worthy defensively or prove he's consistent offensively? Because he's a guy that's very hot and cold. He needs some consistency. CJ Cox looks primed to step into that role that Lawyer kind of took on the last couple of years. I think he's going to be quite good. Maybe not immediately, but I think he's going to be quite good. It wouldn't stun me if frankly, I think it's well within the range of outcomes that he's better than Lawyer this year. I think he's quite good. I wouldn't say it's likely, but it's possible, The worry for me is Clough, Jacobson. I believe he was one of the finalists, if not he's on the U19 team for the USA that we're going to see. So we're going to see more of him coming back off that injury. But interior defense to me is a little concerned. The depth pieces I don't love either. But Smith, Lawyer, Kaufman-Wren, I think that's as good a 3 as really Smith and Kaufman-Wren is a good combo you're going to find. Lawyer, Cox hopefully gives you something. Hopefully Oscar Clough coming from South Dakota State can give you something. But those would be my guys. And hopefully the depth pieces step up. I don't love the depth on this team. I love the depth on some of the other teams we have already talked about. And definitely the 2 teams I have above them a lot better. You're just hoping you can, that front court's good enough, and then Braden Smith stays healthy. Because if Braden Smith goes out with an injury, this is not a top 25 team in my mind.
Look, I totally, without spoiling what I have planned, because there's still to go, I agree with just about everything that you've said with Purdue concerns and with the Braden Smith factor. If he goes down, this team's in trouble, trouble bubble. But, man, getting him back, National Player of the Year, probably preseason favorite. Yep. There's a lot to love. And then you got to give respect to Matt Painter. And I'll talk about it. You got to give respect to what Matt Painter has done. I have Kentucky 3, and I want to address, because I do think when you had Kentucky, you had them, 8th, 7th, 8th, whatever it was.
8th.
I said I agreed with just about everything you said. Here's where I will disagree with you. You question their depth. Mm-hmm. I think their depth is actually going to be a key point to this team, because Pope played a lot of dudes last year. When we talked about preseason last year, we wondered if Colin Chandler would get back in a hurry to his form that saw him be a high 4-star coming out of high school before he went on the 2-year Mormon trip. It took him a while, but name 4 better players on that Kentucky roster at the end of the year that helped him make a Sweet 16. Look what he did to Illinois. We didn't even think that Trent Noah would play at all last year. And he helped them beat Tennessee twice in the regular season with his play. I think Pope is keen on playing a lot of dudes, a lot of minutes, spread out. I don't think even Otega, Otega is going to play more than 28 minutes per game. Jalen Lowe. I'm with you about kind of backup point guard spot. Jasper's not a traditional one. He's very much a score first point guard or guard. Colin Chandler slid on that role. Wasn't great, but serviceable. Otega, I think what happens is when Jalen Lowe is on the bench, you see kind of a point guard by committee just to initiate the offense. But the good thing about Pope's offense, You don't necessarily need the point guard to dribble the ball out because there's so much passing, pin down cuts, screens, that you just need a guy to get the ball across half court, get the first play of the offense going, and then you're constantly moving and cutting. So I think maybe the point guard, at least the backup, is a little overrated in the system, considering how many dudes. Now, if you get pressed, that's where it'll be an issue, right? Because you don't want to turn the ball over. Denzel Aberdeen coming in, the dude shot 40% from three on the national championship Florida team, two-way defender. We talked about Kentucky needing to upgrade athleticism. You bring in Denzel Aberdeen, who's got like a 42-inch vertical. You're going to upgrade athleticism. Jalen Lowe, athletic, can really go. Otega, I'm in full agreement. Probably SEC preseason player of the year. Mo Diabate, I loved what you said about didn't really get to show everything in Alabama last year due to way style of play and people he had in front of him. He will get a bigger role at Kentucky this year. But again, he comes from an Alabama system that runs this intricate offense that plays fast. The Mark Pope system that runs an intricate offense, plays fast, has the ability to step out and pick and pops or catch and shoots, can make them, so you have to respect it. But he's going to be there as like a dog defender. Brandon Garrison, I hope his three-point shooting's gotten better because he did show spurts where he could hit a couple in games. But rim protection, Malachi Moreno, Reese Potter coming in from Miami of Ohio won't have a big role, but at 7'1" with a veteran kind of mind, I think he could play spot minutes at center to just rim protect and step out and make a couple threes if given. Cam Williams, I think, is going to be the big breakout on this team. I think Colin Chandler, Cam Williams, because both of them long, athletic. Colin right now is a little better defender than Cam, I think, but Cam got the NBA three-point range. I think he could be a sneaky NBA player down the line. Trent Noah will continue to kind of play off the bench and minutes here and there. If he plays well, play more. If not, whatever. But we saw he could give you good stuff, and Jaden Quaintance is the big question mark of this team, I think. They, like you said, everything is pointing from him, his family, and the Kentucky camp. He'll be ready for the start of the year. But I still think it's going to take till we get SEC play a month and a half for him finally feel comfortable. But we know how great this kid is. He led college basketball in blocks per minute or blocks per game when he was fully healthy before the injury at Arizona State. He can score around the rim. You isolate him and play iso ball where he can drag his center out and just blow by him. That dude right there could be all defensive SEC, maybe all defensive first team college basketball. Could be an All-American if he's actually healthy and gets to play to his potential without the injury lingering. He's that good and a surefire NBA pick in next year's draft. And then Andre Jelovic. We don't know that a lot about him. He's an international dude coming from Croatia, 6'11". You see some tape where he's playing professional ball. He looks like he can step out and bust threes. He looks like he can take dudes off the rim or off the bounce. Can he play defense? We're going to find all this out at the college level. But I'll say this, in this lineup Kentucky has, that's everything around him where he doesn't have to be that great right away. If he could just be Big Z from Kentucky 2 years ago or even Big Z from Arkansas last year in spot minutes, I'm talking the Cats are cooking with depth. I like their depth better than you. Completely understand the point guard situation, but I think Mark Pope has addressed every need possible. He's went out, fixed the athleticism, fixed the defense while maintaining an offensive threat. To me, that's a top 3 team in the nation.
Only thing I'm going to add to that is Jaden Quaintance was 17 last year. That's young.
I know, it's crazy, right? It's
17 to 18. That's a big jump in just experience and athletic and just growing, knowing the game. That's a big jump. So
can I be honest too? And we don't know JQ that way, but everything I've heard him say in interviews and even his family, I think he always wanted to go to Kentucky. He committed. Cal was there. They leave. Some changes. He ends up Arizona State. I don't think he was very happy. I think if you watch him now in interviews, he seems like he's the happiest kid in the world being back at Kentucky. And if you're happy someplace, what's that usually mean? It means you play better if you're happy in a situation. I think as long as he's healthy, we're going to see the absolute best Jaden Quaintance possible.
Yeah, I think he could be an All-American. I'd have a little bit. You mentioned, I definitely think we could see more out of Diabate, but I also got some questions just considering we haven't yet seen it. So I'm not projecting him to be like amazing. And if he is, we know the potential, like we know that could happen, but I'm not going to fully project him to be that guy yet. And that'd probably be my main concern of the starting lineup.
Yeah, completely agree. And how about this? one, two, three, three lefties on this lineup, and I think there's another one I'm just forgetting. Lowe, Johnson, or Jasper Johnson, Mo Diabate, and I thought there was one more lefty on this roster here, but it's not usual for Kentucky to have that many lefties, so that should be it. Defending it too is different too, because you close out right-handed usually, close out left-hand different. Let's go to team number 2 here, and then again we disagree here on our number 2 picks, but I think yet again these teams are loaded. I give you my thoughts on what I think about UConn. Talk to me about the Huskies, because I know you being a Big East guy, it's about time to say holy shit again, because here these motherfuckers go once more.
Yeah, it's going to be scary. This is a y'all must have forgot season. I see people ranking St. John's above UConn. I think that is fucking crazy, truth be told. This is y'all must have forgot. The one thing Hurley would go into just about every single postgame presser and say is, man, my team isn't tough enough. We need tougher guards. Backup guard, as he called Aiden Mahaney, backup guard. He's not giving us the toughness we need. Hassan Diarra is small, whatever, blah, 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 blah. They went out and found either the toughest or the second toughest guard in the portal possible. Silas Demery is tougher than a $2 steak. He's good, and he's going to be able to drive the lane, facilitate, and run that some big point guard style game that really was a part of the reason those UConn teams were so successful. Andre Jackson was able to run point. Tristan Newton, obviously, I mean, he was amazing when he won the national title with them twice. They filled that role again. And then you look at these depth pieces. Terrace Reed's going to take a huge jump. That dude showed a lot last year. Frankly, he should have been starting by like February, but Samson Johnson, back class, all that. Maybe they thought Reed was better off the bench. He ain't coming off no damn bench this season. That ain't happening. He's going to be excellent. He's going to be one of the 3 best bigs in the Big East with ease. Caravan, I mean, we've seen good Caravan. Good Caravan's a dude. Solo Ball is, again, in the conversation for Big East All-First Team. That dude his jump shot is as good as anyone's you will find in the country. I will challenge you to find another shooter who every single time Solo Ball shoots the ball, it's going in. I think it's going in. And that's how you know a guy's a good shooter. When that ball comes off his hands, you're just like, it's in. It's good. And if he misses, you're like, oh, damn, we got lucky on that one. Yeah, excellent. Caravan does that. Jalen Stewart's kind of that rotational piece you need on a team like this that doesn't need the ball a lot to be effective, but will do all the little things, can hit outside shots, can score at the rim, will do the little things to be effective, will be a team guy, a really good glue guy. I think this team is awesome. This is a y'all must have forgot season. Malachi Smith as a backup point guard is the best backup point guard in the country. I mean, the dude, we saw what that dude did at Dayton. He's better than a lot of starting point guards. He might even be better than some starting point guards we mentioned on this top 10 list, which is crazy to think, but like I could make the argument if I really wanted to. He's going to be awesome. And then the depth, Braylon Mullins, you mentioned, shooter supreme, Jaden Ross, Jacob Furphy looks good. Reeby, definitely a little worried that he's pretty soft at this point, even for like kind of a high school player who's pretty soft, but skill-wise, you see like why he was ranked so highly. There are not many bigs that skill do not grow on trees, big fella. They do not. Yeah, this is a y'all must have forgot season. I think UConn is a national title contender, and then some. I see people having them ranked in the top, in the 10th to like 12th spot. I think y'all are insane. This is a y'all must have forgot season. Either people are underrating Reed, they're underrating Solo Ball is maybe the best shooter in the country. Silas Demery, we both know how good Silas Demery is, and you loved Georgia last season, and that you mentioned that you thought they underperformed. With all due respect, and I mean this as nicely as I can phrase it, Silas Demery is going from being coached by Mike White offensively to Dan Hurley.
Yeah, he's going to have more freedom too.
Yeah,
and think about what he did at Georgia in kind of a more half-court restricted offense.
Y'all must have forgot this team can win a national title. People are sleeping, and really, I don't know why. Because last year's UConn team, a lot of people had like preseason top 5. That roster is not nearly as good as this roster.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think maybe people just kind of fell in love with some new flavors of the week, like a St. John's or other. But and you mentioned, and I forgot to mention in my preview when I had him fourth, Malachi Smith. How about him taking on the role, accepting that maybe I'm going to be the backup point guard, but it's going to be okay because I'm going to, as long as I do what I'm supposed to, I'm going to play a lot, and at crunch time I'll probably be in. So, I mean, that takes a lot of balls and courage to do that too. That's kind of what Hurley is built, though, where these guys, stars from other teams, are willing to maybe accept a quote unquote lesser role to contribute and then eventually get to the NBA. I've got Houston. Look, they came with an eyelash of winning a national championship last year. They took Florida down to the absolute wire, had them dead and buried, and Florida, like the Undertaker, popped their hand through the grave and came back and stole that national title. You look at Houston, Milos Uzan, Emmanuel Sharp, Joseph Tugler, all back. You add in a 5-star forward in Chris Senac Jr., a McDonald's All-American. That dude is athletic, can really protect the rim. Isaiah Harwell comes in as well. The backup point guard slot, I'm going to read this. A 5-star point guard to play backup to Milos Uzan, who will likely be the best point guard in the Big 12 next year. Mm-hmm. This is from Adam Finkelstein from 247 Sports. It's a long paragraph, so I'll just shorten it. But he says, Flemings is a playmaking lead guard loaded with explosive athleticism. He owns a rare overlap of terrific speed with the ball, quick twitch burst, and a very shifty type of stop-and-go attack. He's at his best when the game is going up and down because he's dynamic in the open floor in a way that can look effortless at times. He plays well above the rim, often dunking the ball on his way up from his initial jump. He gets paint touches in the half-court game as well, despite playing fairly upright at times because he can really turn the corner on ball screen, and is a good pass off the dribble as well. Look, everything besides playing the up-and-down game, because Houston is more refined to a slow-it-down half-court style, although they will run, turning the corner, getting downhill, playing off pick and rolls, being a very good passer when he makes decisions off pick and rolls. Who fucking system does that sound like? It's Houston. And he's going to be their backup to probably the best point guard in the Big 12. Houston is loaded with talent. Chris Senac Jr. is phenomenal if you haven't seen him in the high school ranks. That dude is an NBA player. He'll be there likely just one and done. He will help that defense because you cannot go play for Houston if you don't defend. I think he'll be able to protect the rim. Emmanuel Sharp, literally a sharpshooter. How many big shots in his career for the Cougars has he's made? How many times has he got hot in the second half and hit like 6 threes in the half? Mercy Miller didn't play a lot, but again, Sampson's great about taking dudes who maybe their first 2 years don't see the floor a lot, don't produce. Then all of a sudden in a summer, he turns them into a very valuable piece. The only thing I worry about is behind Senac and maybe some front court depth behind Senac and Tugler, but the guards should be phenomenal again. I fully expect this team to play Houston-style defense, be great in the half court. What happens is if Sharp's not making shots, I kind of worry about that. Who's the next guy in line? Is it Harwell, the freshman that stepped up and buries a bunch of threes? So the two worries I have is what happens when Sharp's not making his threes, who steps up and helps from the outside, and then maybe a little bit of front court depth quality issue. But, man, this team's going to be freaking good. You bring Uzan and Sharp back alone, and that's a really good team. You throw in Chris Senac Jr. coming in as a highly touted freshman, Joseph Tugler, who's been there a while and knows this system better than anybody. This team's good. This team is great potential.
Hit that arrow key to show the next slide for me, please. Just so
you have them.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah, I agree with literally everything you said. And yeah, to your point, the question you posed of what happening if Sharp isn't hitting, I think it is Harwell. Harwell, I think, is really wired to score. He's a guy I want to dig into a little more, but just reading up just based on what a Finkelstein, what some of the guys at On3 and that sort of thing, they said he can be an excellent scorer. And I think they're really going to need that. They're going to need some scoring punch. Front court depth is definitely a question I'd have with this team, but it's Houston. I feel like they're going to find some front court pieces because I feel like I've had that question with them a lot of these seasons, and then they just find a grinder. And it's like, of course, Houston found it. So I'm just going to rely on that factor. And if it doesn't work out, I'll bite my tongue. Whatever happens. But the reason I have Houston 1 is because offense, I feel like we project Purdue to be the number 1 offense, but like offense, we're not certain of that, right? That'd be my guess, but like I'm not certain. Houston's going to have the best damn defense in the country.
Oh, yeah.
You're just gonna. And that safety net, that floor, I'll trust it. And then you mentioned Milos Uzan's the best point guard in the Big 12, one of the best, probably the second best, frankly, point guard in the country. Kingston Flemings is the backup, going to be really good. Manuel Sharp, amazing. Joseph Tugler, awesome. You returned 3 guys who played on a team that was right there of winning a national title, and they want revenge. Senac, Harwell, Flemings, that's the best freshman class Kelvin Sampson has ever had by a long shot. This team's going to be quite good. Yeah. Number 1, this is, frankly, I think if Kelvin Sampson doesn't win it all this year, I feel like this is going to be his last, and I want to see him go out on top. The defense is going to be there. Everything you mentioned is there, and I think Harwell, definitely a guy I want to tape a little more to cement this ranking, but if he is the scorer that people say he is, and it seems like he is, but just want to make sure, they're going to be very good. And you definitely got another option there. And CNEC, you mentioned, yeah, he'll be an NBA player, and Harwell might just join him.
Yeah, dude, this Houston team, my concern for a long time, and Trevor's been Mr. Houston on this podcast for a long time, and I finally agreed with him last year because my one concern had always been their shooting. Like, they just didn't shoot the ball well. What historically under Kelvin Sampson, 33% from outside, and they were still great despite. Well, last year they shot 40-some% from three. Like, they didn't take high volume, but the shots they made, most of them due to Emmanuel Sharp, and I expect that again this year. Maybe not 40, but if they can be around 38.5%, this team's going to be, man, they're going to be good. And I think consensus, most teams either have Houston or who I have number one, Purdue. You laid it out perfectly with Purdue with concerns and everything. Dude, they literally bring back almost everybody from a key spot. Braden Smith's back, Fletcher Loyer, CJ Cox, who I love to shout, by the way, is from freshman sophomore jump to take a big leap. I love that. He showed some spurts last year where you'd look up in a game against, let's say, Penn State. Oh, he's got 21. I think it's there for him. TKR, he had to play center last year, and he did a damn good job at it most of the season. Not having a center really hurt him. He gets to go back to his actual position at power forward this year because they do bring in Oscar Kloof from South Dakota State. And I love what you said. You said, not the stereotype. Dude, I'll stereotype even more. He's a 6'11", 255-pound white grad student with a kind of lumpy ass that will just eat up paint touches. He's like the smaller version. It's hard to be smaller at 6'11", 255, but he's kind of the smaller version of Zach Edey. Just going to be a big body that eats the paint up. You hope he stays out of foul trouble. Jacobson will be available coming off injury, like you said, but they've got bigs. They've got the best point guard in college basketball. They've got an elite sniper, Fletcher Loyer. They've got an athletic dude in CJ Cox that could be a scoring machine. TKR on the block, even from 15 feet out, can face up and can make some stuff happen. This is a loaded starting five. The bench depth, Jakari Harris as a freshman, got a good amount of playing time. Didn't really pan out as a freshman like I think most of us thought he would, or at least some of us. But can he be like CJ Cox, take a big step? That helps the bench. A guy I want to watch out for is Jack Bentner. He's from right down the road from here where I'm at, about an hour south of me, and not even that, about 45 minutes south. He came from Brownstown Central High School. He was a scoring machine from the time he was a freshman in high school, dropping 40 points in games, to all the way to when he graduated in high school at this point 2 seasons ago. 40 points per game, basically, when he wanted to, 30 most nights. He redshirted last year. This will be his first year in college actually getting to play. He's one of those dudes that if that scoring prowess, and especially taking a year off, allowing himself to mature, understand the system, going and practice every day, if he can translate his high school stuff to this level, they've got a dude on the second unit that could drop 25 in a game unexpectedly. That's how confident I am in Jack Bentner if it translates. That's a big if, but I'm telling you, this kid, having watched him for the Indiana High School All-Stars, that dude is a scoring machine, and I could easily see him playing his way into a starting lineup role at some point this year if CJ Cox isn't what we think he can be. I think Jack Bentner could be an absolute weapon for the Boilermakers. The things you said that are concerns. To me, I think defensively they're always going to be good because Matt Painter, their teams play defense. They run beautiful offense. Braden Smith's the best point guard. What's been their Achilles heel in a lot of these games here over the years that they've gotten beat is when teams put ball pressure on Braden Smith and Fletcher Loyer, turn them over, and speed the game up. Has Braden, has Fletcher, or even CJ Cox learned to take care of the basketball? Because if they limit turnovers, they're going to beat 99% of teams they played this year. If they start turning the ball over and allow live ball turnovers, that's where they're going to get upset. But I love this Purdue team. For me, they'll come into the season, preseason number one, by a hair over Houston. But I love what Purdue's got cooking.
Yeah, I put it in the private chat, but I feel like I remember earlier in this podcast saying,
yeah, you did.
Fuck, that's a bad take. I mean, Bennett's is amazing. So, but yeah, it's Braden Smith, without a doubt. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. This team could be quite good. Just having third, the defense concern for me, but again, if Purdue finishes the season as the best team in the country, I'm not going to be surprised in the slightest. It's well within the range of outcomes. Like, yeah, it, without a doubt, could happen. Like, if you really want to doubt Braden Smith and TKR, just good luck, big fella.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But you brought up a very good point. If something happens to Braden Smith where he has to miss any time, let's knock on wood, pray it doesn't.
Yeah,
that team is in trouble. They won't even be able to get the ball over half court. And I say that in jest, but they're going to struggle because I think teams will see blood in the water and really attack them at the point of attack. And he's the key to – he's got to play. And I know there was games this last season he played 39, 40 minutes.
He's going to have to do that.
He's going to have to play a lot of minutes this year.
Yeah.
A lot. But that's our top 10 for as of now on June 24th. Subject to change when we officially reveal the ECB top 25 closer to the time the season begins. We've got a lot of great teams, a lot of great matchups that we're looking forward to at the beginning part of this year and beyond, and gearing up for another tremendous college basketball season. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We'll be back with you here shortly. I promise this time, no more month and a half layoff. We've got top 10 players look out for. We've got a lot. We've got hopefully interviews coming up with the likes of Coach Para, Coach Rhodes. So we got a lot to do left in this summer. But for wrapping up for DeRosa and I, we hope you guys enjoyed this top 10 preview. And until next time, we'll catch you guys down the road. Peace.